This week's episode was brought to you by Tate Damon and listeners like you. If you'd like to support independent esoteric research by bunny wabbits, please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your monthly donation will earn you benefit of our extended episodes, a 5x5 vinyl sticker of our bunny god, and access to our Discord server where we trade waifus, pet pics, cryptocurrency, all in the name of the devil. On this week's adventure, we begin our investigation into the explosive mixture of occultism and the Third Reich. While we certainly cannot claim to have discussed everything, we get off to a pretty good start. We discuss Aleister Crowley's career in espionage, the real Castle Wolfenstein, Nazi mysticism concerning racial eugenics, and decode both the SS Ring and the Black Sun. In our extended episode, we discuss the tragic Otto Rahn, the SS agent sent to recover the Holy Grail himself, and the mysterious history of the Cathar's hidden treasure. We need to do more episodes to talk about everything, but for now, thank you and enjoy the show.
I'm very proud of her. She's graduating and going to prom.
Yeah, if you're like our son, Dingus, then the podcast is like our daughter, and she's going to prom because we're talking about the National Socialist Party of Deutschland.
Makes sense.
If she's going to prom already, she's going to die quick.
Yeah.
You better invest in some life insurance.
She's got life insurance. It's called a butterfly knife.
Can she do a trick with it?
Yeah, that's how you use a butterfly knife. You go, and they're like, I don't want to mess with that person, because they can do the whoosh with the butterfly knife.
I honestly believe you'd be better off with pocket sand. Then you go,
Pocket sand.
Shisha! Pocket sand!
I love that.
It works in Bushido Blade.
That was a thing that actual samurai would occasionally do. They would pack the scabbards of their swords with various irritants and metal shavings.
That's a real thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No way.
Fucking ninjas use glitter. Just throw a bunch of glitter in your eyes and you go blind.
Glitter bombs.
Yeah.
Just squirt some juice in there.
Is glitter bomb like what the gay ninjas use instead of smoke bombs?
In high school, I had a fake squadron name called Flags. Flamboyantly lethal and gay soldiers.
Hell yeah. Those are my boys.
Flags.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Whole Rabbit, where we do more than just draw up a few birth charts to fool Nazi leadership into flying a small cockpit aircraft into Scotland to discuss terms of surrender, only to be arrested by our team of British spies. Nay, we take the esoteric sign of Apophis, introduce it to Winston Churchill, and convince everyone it means V for victory, instead of Apophis, because who else can be trusted to swallow the solar swastika? I'm your host, Luke Madrid, the hacking rabbit. I'm joined by Mari Sama, the allied carpet-munching bombardier.
Awoo!
Darth Dingus, the Fraulein of Flammenwerfers.
Yes, I'm a Fraulein of Flammenwerfers.
God, I wish I had never done that.
And Malachor 5, the 10th esoteric incarnation of Kraft Captain America with a pocket full of tamales.
I smell like corn most of the time.
Me too.
Smells of corn.
That's all I eat.
I bet he drinks fucking grain alcohol on top of that shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's made out of corn, you know.
Dude, mellow corn whiskey is so good.
It is?
Yeah, it's one of the only grain alcohols that I can tolerate because it tastes good.
Oh, shit. The more you know.
It's kind of like a yellow color, but it's not sweet, but it has like a sweet aftertaste that rounds out the acidity and disgustingness of grain alcohol.
The corn taste.
Well, yeah, it's like a sweet corn, but like as if you roasted it in a whiskey barrel or something.
That sounds good.
It's
Really
actually
good.
kind of good.
I feel like a Nazi would turn their nose up at that.
You know what else is good?
Malacorn. Malacorn 5.
Guys, here's a cool thing, and I know this is off topic. Get a watermelon, cut a plug out of it, and pour an entire bottle of grain alcohol in it. Put the plug back in, and then put it in your freezer for like 3 to 5 hours.
I've seen that on
And then-
YouTube.
And
No.
then slice it up and eat it, and you will get fucked. Only have like a few pieces though. Don't eat the whole watermelon.
Holy shit.
You might die
You might die if
if you eat the whole. Like, do it for a party.
You know how you say watermelon in German?
Watermelon? I don't know.
You're pretty close. Wassermelon.
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 Wasser,
Oh, yeah.
Wasser. Yeah.
It's Wasser, not
The piss
Wuter.
Wasser. It's like the beer in GTA's piss Wasser.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Piss Wasser.
So speaking of fascist war criminals that were never indicted, I heard that Donald Rumsfeld died?
Who?
Donald Rumsfeld.
Oh, yeah, good.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, good riddance
Give me a
to bad
briefing.
Rumsfeld.
Who is this man?
Oh, like he was George Bush's like George W. Bush, you know how he like went to Afghanistan and Iraq and like invaded the Middle East for weapons of mass destruction, which were totally fake intel.
Can't get fooled again.
Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld were his they basically told him to do it.
Yeah, it was them. It really was.
George didn't come up with. George is just a stupid puppet monkey.
He wanted to run on a school platform.
I feel bad for him, honestly. Now that I'm older, I just kind of feel like kind of bad. Like he's stupid. I feel more bad for George than these other fuckers.
You know what his name is? I hear in the occult group he's a part of.
Oh, what's his nickname?
Him and his dad are Gog and Magog.
Gog and Magog. Yeah, that's right. And Obama is Renegade.
Really?
And Hillary is
That's so lame. Sorry.
Hillary is Evergreen.
Oh, that's scary. I like that one though.
Obama listens to sticks.
Huh?
Obama listens to sticks.
I guess.
Renegade?
It was given to him by the secret societies.
He looks like Akhenaten though. Couldn't they do better than that? Akhenaten? Couldn't they like spice it up?
I wish we knew more of those. Those are really interesting to me. The nicknames.
Well, speaking of the ones we do know about, the intro is based on Aleister Crowley, both parts of it. He wrote in German newspapers in America on a pro-German, pro-fascist stance that was meant to make fascists seem ridiculous. He still takes heat for it today.
Oh yeah, and then he invented the V for victory sign, which I thought was fascinating.
He did.
Victory is an older vintage meaning, and we use it for peace, like positive things. In Britain, I learned it was, or like in the UK, it means fuck you, apparently.
Well, here's something else interesting about it. In medieval times, British archers were known to be the best in all of Europe. The British longbowman was like a...
Top class archers in the world, yes.
So when the French came along, they had a lot of trouble dealing with those archers, and they threatened to cut off the pointer and middle fingers of every Brit they came across. And so that became the taunt. They'd hold up fingers in a V.
Isn't that the same as where the middle finger came from? Because they'd cut that off so you couldn't shoot your gun.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like they'd be like, look, I got my fingers.
Or you couldn't hold a knife or something.
Makes sense.
You can't hold a knife just for like not having your middle finger. You're not determined enough.
I feel like, but the middle finger also is they would cut the finger off so you couldn't use a weapon. So it's
Or it might be a bow.
Or finger a woman properly.
Which is the worst.
I don't remember ever using this myself in a ritual, probably because I don't do enough of them. It's a hexagram ritual. When you do the sign of Apophis, you throw your arms out kind of like bunny ears. And so that's the sign of the force that swallows the sun. And the Nazis liken themselves to the sun. And so this is Aleister Crowley being like, all right, well, I'm going to be the scissors to your paper. I'm going to be the rock to your scissors. I'm going to be the Apophis to your swastika. And you're going to see this sign everywhere. And this sign is going to dominate you mimetically. And we're going to win.
This is the devouring serpent, right?
Yes.
That is so cool because pretty much all of their logos and imagery are based on either sun gods, like the king gods of pantheons, or sun circles, sun symbols that represent earth, sun, and all of the elemental and directions of the winds.
Or statues of naked boys with swords.
Which, okay, but is that a sun symbol?
Yeah.
Think about the sun card.
Yeah, think about the sun card.
Think about specifically it's only males that they portray in this fashion.
A son as in like a son, like a young man. The
Adolf Hitler would absolutely enjoy that song Boys of Summer, and that's a terrible song.
I agree.
That is, I heard that for the first time recently, and I was disgusted. It was on rock radio. Oh, that's not really a surprise.
My source for this is my mother, but she was like, those Nazis enjoyed jazz until they were not allowed to anymore.
Don't ask her how she knows.
Well, she was raised Catholic. Who knows what she knows?
I know.
Didn't the Catholic Church and the Nazis have kind of like a thing going?
Oh, yeah. There's pictures like Catholic priests blessing like people being shot into mass graves in like Croatia or something. Like, just Google it.
And, Italy was part of the Axis powers, and the Vatican is there, so they were totally okay with this kind of stuff going on in that time.
Who do you think got him to South America?
Damn straight.
Yep.
So, near the end of the Second World War, American troops discovered a horde of secret Nazi files hidden away in a cave in central Germany. The documents reveal one of the Third Reich's most shadowy projects, the hunt to discover the origins of the lost Aryan civilization from which they believed they descended. Hitler thought races were distinct, and competed in a stage of evolution for survival and dominance, with the German Aryan race, of course, at the pinnacle. The supposed ancient master race left behind insufficient evidence, though, so one of Hitler's highest officers, Heinrich Himmler, was sent out to prove its existence and demonstrate through his efforts that the Nazi Party were heirs to this ancient master race, which was meant rightly to rule over the earth and, of course, the lesser races.
Man, this brings up so many things we can talk about.
It was
The
aliens.
first question is how did Hitler even get involved in this fantasy? Where did he get this idea from?
He's mentally ill.
Like the Nazi regime was a fucking LARP.
No,
Well,
totally.
There was quite a bit of LARPing, yes.
Well, I think once they figured out the key to
Yeah, there's
having
video.
power and exerting power in the world is basically you have to hypnotize yourself and others into believing it. Like they figured out that's why they were into magic and stuff, because that's how they hypnotized like an entire country, multiple countries of people to be okay with mass slaughter on that level. Does that make sense? Like the only way they were able to do that is with occultism and this like weird technology they were inventing.
Well, there was a lot of people who maybe weren't at that level yet. So I think it was like the first thing that they wanted to do was establish that this find evidence of this Aryan race and prove it to their populace. And that's really how they convinced many of them.
Well,
I'd also like to point out that throughout history, it has been very easy to get entire peoples to slaughter entire other people.
what you're saying, Malachor, is that basically they're looking for evidence so that the masses will get on board with their reasoning.
Yeah.
So
yes.
they're trying to prove their point and then they probably fabricate some of it, which I'm pretty sure that happened.
They tried not to. They tried to
Yeah,
actually prove
They
it.
laughed at how in England they had bones, like, you know, the Allies, we had bones of like this missing link in the evolution chain.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be fake. And then like the Nazis were like, you guys are all dumb. You guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And this is probably when they decide to use the symbol of the swastika, because it was found in many parts of the world. Himmler, who was the most occulty high-ranking guy in the SS, he assumed that it was because of some ancient civilization that was the Aryan race, and that they were the ones who spread all the knowledge of like agriculture and all these crazy, technologies to ancient races.
Yeah.
Dingus asked, like, where did he get into all this? Well, the answer is that, well, everybody was kind of into it. We have a little bit of Theosophy to blame for it, like we've been hinting at. Madame Blavatsky wrote in The Secret Doctrine about these things called root races. She even suggests that the different races have different strengths. That's kind of a hot take. People didn't really know everything or as much as we know now about history, and they had really sharp ideas about genes. And let's put it this way. The Germans didn't come up with those ideas of eugenics and sterilizing people. They got it from America, and they got it from Great Britain. We were doing it first. So the question is where did it come from? Well, everybody was thinking that stupid shit back then. Like forced sterilization happened here first.
Fascism really is, like, in many ways, American.
Well, I view it as like gaming the system, because if you feel like that you can control the genetic lines of free human beings on the entire planet or even in your own country, to me that goes against nature, because it's one thing for us to breed dogs to be better at the jobs that we give the dogs to do. That's part of nature because we're the dominant predator. But when a human turns to another human and thinks, how can I breed and manipulate and exploit their genetics, breed them into or out of existence? That to me is an abomination.
That is considered genocide,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't
think
say
that's
that
right.
America invented fascism.
makes
That's
them
going
human?
a bit far.
No, I don't think they invented what I'm saying is
No, that's what Dingus said. I don't think
No,
America.
no.
No, I didn't. That's not
Okay,
what I said.
settle
but
down.
A lot of the ideas that formed fascism in the early 1900s in Italy and in Germany did come from here. Like you said,
But-
eugenics.
And
But
England.
it's new thought, and these people were teasing new ideas away from the normative society to try and fix problems that they perceived. Now, we could say the path to hell is paved with good intentions, kind of like how science can be neutral until someone picks it up to make a nuclear bomb. It's the same concept, in my opinion. Theosophy was hugely popular all over Western society at that point. Blavatsky and her people of the Theosophy Society and all their prints and periodicals that they would put out to their members, they would discuss these ideas because they wanted to learn more about why are all the spiritualities around the world linked and all that. So she had the same interests that Hitler Hitler did, but I don't think it's not because they're trying to control people. It's because they're trying to explore new ideas. And then again, people who are out to do harm and control other people against their will, they will always co-opt other ideas in order to manipulate other people. They're not very creative. But you're right.
Most people aren't very creative. They
But you're
would
right.
only...
I'm just saying you're right in that America was a stewing pot for new creative thought in that era. So it would make sense that those ideas would come out of America at a time when America was first discovering the Eastern world, you know, and all that. I get it. I don't think that they intended for it to be like she says, Blavatsky talks about the races being inherently different or having differences. I think that that's where the idea of like ancient humans and like, you know how Tolkien and all these old fantasy and sci-fi novels have ancient peoples, like there's different races like elves and giants and dwarves and all this.
And the Matrix being reset like 5 times and this being like the 6th circle and the incarnation of Neo, all that stuff. It's similar.
And it's like we may probably come from the same place, but it's like those different breeds of things in our stories could very well be representations of ancient human beings.
Well, my understanding is the Germans thought they were ice giants. Well, at least Hitler did. You know what I mean?
Like,
so they took it a little far.
Right?
A little bit of the Norse in there.
But yeah, they had some racial flexing going on there. Like I have a coworker, he just blasts the AC and he's wearing shorts and a short shirt and he's just like, I feel nothing. Racial flex. I was like, and the Nazis were guilty of this too. That was probably the problem when they went into Russia is they didn't bring enough jackets. I will agree with you, Dingus, that yeah, a lot of those ideas did come from America. I'm just not letting you say that without throwing Great Britain under the bus too. I have to throw them under the bus.
I just think if you dabble in that stuff, someone's bound to use it, exploit it in some way.
They were like, oh, you're drunk? We're taking your balls. Oh, you're a criminal? Look, you can't have kids now. The people they convinced first were the healthcare people, the people who like nurses, doctors, to disobey their Hippocratic oath. Because if they could get them to agree that a certain race of people were a disease, they could be viewed as something like fingernails or dead hair. Something that's meant to be removed for the health of the body.
How they used to sterilize mentally disabled people.
You like that?
And like make sure that they could never get married and be free. That's exactly what they were doing.
Like what they're doing with Britney Spears, basically.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
but on an industrial level for an entire race of people, that's so fucking horrific.
I haven't heard about the Britney Spears thing.
They're making her keep her IUD in. She doesn't have her right of contract over her own body or servitor. Like, she doesn't have control over her life anymore.
She has to go on tour whenever they say.
Oh,
she's a slave. Yeah, she's a slave.
Yeah, she has to, like, change in front of her watchers and stuff. She can't see her kids or her husband.
For real shit, why can that happen to a human being in America?
Because her dad and some paperwork.
Her dad has custody over her because she's considered mentally unwell.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
so
that's the kind of shit.
She's basically like as if you had it's like having an adult child. It's like if they abuse it as an adult.
Child.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, to validate what you said earlier, Dingus, yeah, we're still doing it now. In 1936, Heinrich Himmler was invited to a presentation by the eccentric historian Hermann Wirth, who proposed an archaeological expedition which was assured to uncover proof of the lost Aryan civilization. This expedition would be the culmination of years' work of research and looking at cave paintings and symbols from cultures all over the world. Now, modern scholar, one entirely disconnected from Nazi ideology. Got to be careful to say that. He's just a cool guy. Laird Scranton. He's researching the similarities between these symbols and all the different cultures to this day. So it's possible that Hermann Wirth may have found something worth actually investigating outside of the limited scope of providing propaganda for a totalitarian regime. Because there is some evidence to suggest that like the different languages from all over the world have a similarity of meaning and character that's kind of remarkable. And then the fact that there's pyramids all over the world, they may have been onto something, but their ultimate goal was to prove that they were the be-all end-all. That was the end that they came to before they started looking, basically.
So I noticed that when I was very young, that like all of the different monuments around the world seemed to be like of similar architectural design. Herman was, he started looking for Atlantis. I think that's interesting because Disney did a movie about that. And I was just about to say, Disney should have done the movie about finding the Aryan nation.
That's secretly what it's about.
A little bit more fitting for Walt there, don't you think?
Yeah, and I mean,
he would have been into that.
But don't you think maybe that there's kind of like a parallel there, and that maybe that's what they wanted to do, but they couldn't really get away with it?
No, they absolutely couldn't get away with it. That's why the people that are from Atlantis in the movie, they look totally different.
Yeah, they look very South American.
Yeah.
For like the bajillionth time on the show, once upon a time in this thing called the Timaeus, they go to ancient Egypt, and the Athenians are like, what's up? And the Egyptians are like, you don't know anything. You're dirt people. You should be proud. You're descendants of like, the people that defeated the Atlanteans or whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, we should be proud, shouldn't we? They've been making us read that since then. It's out there. We still read about it today. So we're still looking for it. Like, it's still part of our mythological heritage, you could say.
I definitely think everyone is still looking for that, but I think it's definitely related to even the search for the quote unquote master race or whatever. I think that Atlantis would be related to whatever that is, if it does exist.
Maybe.
Guys,
I mean, also remember everybody, the Nephilim, which were half angel and half human demigod-like creatures that roam the earth. So could be a subsect of that. I mean, we don't really know what they were.
I mean, any number of things that are like similar to the Nephilim and frost giants in mythology that are shared by other cultures.
A lot of elitist people and totalitarian people like that are into this kind of stuff, they believe that they're descended from the Nephilim. They think that they're otherworldly in a way that they're able to subjugate regular humans.
That's what you gotta prove to be a dick to somebody, is that you're special.
Yes, exactly.
Malachor, what were we going to say?
I think they weren't trying to find like the race that spawned all of us. They were looking for the one that was better than
And
the
that they
rest.
came from it.
Smarter.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. Well, they were trying to separate DNA. I guess this is what genome sequencing is trying to do now. Find like the different branches, like the bigger branches that branch out, our little subsections of our populations and our mutations, I guess.
Yeah.
And they believed that they were like this super high-tech smart race, separate from other ones.
Yeah, they think they're hybrids or something.
This will come up again on the show.
And the reason why that this civilization fell was because they started mixing with the lower bloods.
Dude.
And this is why they didn't want any Jews and all that stuff. They wanted to separate and keep the blood pure.
Bro,
it's very bloodborne.
this is where the term blue blood comes from too. All of this ideology of purity and keeping your genealogy clear. Yeah, and guess what? They end up being incestuous and ruining their own gene pool, which is hilarious.
Yeah, it's the dragon's bloodline and all that stuff.
Okay, hang on. That might not happen in a country the size of Germany. You got to think about, say...
It might eventually.
Well, think about Japan, right? Japan has a 99% homogenous population, which means that the vast majority of people in Japan are 100% Japanese.
They're dying out, too.
Yeah, but they haven't been dying out until recently.
No, it's been going on for since I've been born.
Okay, but still not for long enough that it's inbreeding that's doing it.
Yeah, you're not that old.
But it will be.
Yeah, out of like the past 10,000 years, it's starting now.
From what it sounds like, it's like this ancient Atlantean race. They survived the Ice Age, and they like took refuge up in the highlands of like certain areas.
Ooh, in Antarctica.
And that's why you find their symbols and their buildings across the world. Is because they went to the high ground and taller or something like that, and that's why they're ice giants.
And that's who the Brahmins were. Something like that. I don't know. That's what they thought.
In Tibet. They like landed in Tibet too.
The Nordic Pleiadians.
Oh God.
Well,
hold on. Okay, no, that's a perfect place to pause.
No, I'm just telling you that's a trope. That's like a total archetype of that same idea.
Some of the SS people believe they came specifically from Edelbaran, which is Taurus's eye.
Oh my God.
It's a fixed star. And this is like the UFO stuff. I don't know if we're going to do this in the first, well, it looks like we are.
Isn't that the bull, though, what you said?
Yeah.
So that's why
Bull.
Kubrick uses it. That's why Kubrick uses it.
Bullseye.
Bullseye. Mm-hmm.
That's why Kubrick always uses the bull looking with his eye before he's about to do some crazy, evil, fascist shit.
Taurus.
Some crazy, violent shit. So in the 1890s through the 1930s, occult topics were popular, even outside of Germany. Accompanying these occult interests were many new ventures into what we call border sciences. Border sciences are practices that walk the line between occult, esoteric topics, and the regular sciences, such as clairvoyance, ESP, and astrology. Some of these border sciences inspired classified projects such as Die Glocke, or the bell, an alleged miracle weapon spawned from Nazi border sciences. Die Glocke was a large bell-shaped device with counter-rotating cylinders. thought to be capable of fucking time travel, anti-gravity, and a source of research for free energy. Many unusual border sciences and esoteric practices were subjects of research, sometimes even being used directly for military purposes alongside astrology, and even pendulum divination was used to locate enemy ships. This was totally normal back in the day. Everyone did this. Swiss astrologer Karl Kraft worked with Goebbels to help wage psychological warfare. Kraft predicted through astrological means an assassination attempt on Hitler, which turned out to be accurate. And Goebbels was like, maybe we should look into this. And even if Goebbels didn't really believe in astrology, he believed that the Germans were susceptible to it as a means of propaganda.
Wow.
It's actually fascinating. There are multiple documented events where like people's horoscopes were manipulated as a psyop just to see if they could do something.
Like Facebook.
Yeah.
Or like, remember when they dosed that whole town of people with LSD in the water and didn't tell them?
Woo!
Who did this?
The CIA.
Oh, I love them sometimes.
No, a lot of the people injured themselves or tried to kill themselves because they thought they were going insane.
Oh, they gave him the brown acid.
No, they dosed the water without telling them.
Brown acid.
Like, what if you just woke up and you were tripping and you don't know why?
You just, hopefully you have someone that wants to have sex with you.
I feel like that some days anyway, so
That would
fuck
freak
it.
me out, dude.
Well, if you weren't a fucking square, you'd be having a good time.
Well, I'm sorry.
That's why I said sometimes the CIA does some
Squares-
cool shit.
Squares have 4 sides, and I like 4.
4 is like
Let
death
Mari
number
into the
and
Freemasons already, people. Come on.
I'm okay to be a square. I'm cool with it.
it's hip to be square.
Yeah, for real, guys.
I can't be a square because I'm not straight.
Check the digits.
Me
It's
neither,
hip to
though.
be square.
Goebbels had diplomats in the propaganda ministry working with Nostradamus' quatrains, but they didn't really have any astrology knowledge, so it led them back to that dude Kraft, and ultimately, this work directed movements of the Third Reich in Europe. Hans Bender, a pioneer of German psi research, was a scientific parapsychologist funded by Himmler and Hitler in the interests of military science. Hans had defined interest in astrology and was given the task of using astrology as a means to influence public opinion, as well as to investigate dowsing. So they were using traditional astrology, but also traditional propaganda techniques where they're like, we are going to convince the world that Nostradamus predicted us and that we're destined to win, which actually is a pretty modern mind war technique if you read Michael Aquino's Mind War. One of the primary things you do is use your media and other people's media to leverage the idea that you've already won the conflict and to cement this idea in the mind of your people and the enemy before the war has even begun. So that's actually pretty sophisticated stuff that, like, even if they didn't know astrology, they were like, well, we're going to pretend we do.
Well, they're reality hacking. I mean, we talk a lot about how meditation, focus, and even prayer or ritual can help you manifest things that you would want to happen. These guys are learning how to game the system and do it on a mass scale.
Not even realizing it.
And harvesting lots and lots of power. I mean, they were genius marketeers. I took psychology and marketing for many years. And I mean, all totalitarianism is, and all of this fascism is pure marketing at its heart. Because you have to harvest the energy of all those people in order to be able to do these kind of large scale operations with magic and all that.
We talked about it like last episode or episode before last about how fascism is just all about propagating an aesthetic.
Yeah, totally.
It's like a thought virus, like a meme.
And that's why that's why you're saying like they're almost like faking it to make it, but in a way that works, and they figured out how to game the system. So they're establishing their own breakaway civilization, and that's what caused the war. I mean, literally.
Yeah, they wanted to basically establish this precedent where they could argue the other races were like detritus. So
correct.
And like we mentioned earlier, they got the nurses and the doctors to defy their Hippocratic oaths on those conditions so they could expand that to the rest of the people. Now,
because the experts would tell the people that it's okay.
I made it sound like it's Blavatsky's fault, but it's more accurate to say some esoteric groups like Theosophy, Ariosophy, and Anthroposophy had talked a lot about root races. Himmler's obsession with the Aryan root race is what fed these concepts. He was determined to find proof that the Aryan master race were believed to be the German ancestors. So the legend of Atlantis suggested that there was a surviving Atlantic seed race that basically spread all throughout the world when it sunk. And that is why he sent SS officers to Tibet. According to rumor, they went and greeted them as if it were prophecy. They were like, we've seen in our meditations that you would come. We saw the Fire Nation would come. You know what I mean? They were like ready.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, they knew they knew the eagle was coming.
Bro, this is some Avatar The Last Airbender shit.
It's like I keep having dreams about the fucking roads we drive down before the next day at work.
Especially if you were restricted to just like staring at your navel and driving those roads like 20 hours a day. So this expedition, among many other ventures, had the expressed purpose to find and secure proof of a superior ancestry for Himmler's proto-Nordic heritage, linking ideology of Indo-Aryan culture to Germany. Hitler, and this is where it takes a turn, had read Otto Rahn's book about the Holy Grail, which links the Grail to the genocide of the Cathar people and suggested possible root race lineage to the Cathar people. Himmler sought out Otto Rahn and proposed the idea of acquiring the Holy Grail, thus making a quest for Otto Rahn specifically. For Himmler, the Grail represented a source of power, and that its true power belonged to the Aryans, not the Christians. He also believed that any reference to Thor's hammer, lightning, or thunderbolts were actually likened to ancient weaponry of the Atlanteans. In truth, this belief funded efforts into research and developments of weaponry in border sciences, like Die Glocke. All of these pursuits for Himmler seemed morally and scientifically necessary to eliminate an entire race for the prosperity of the Germanic people. Esoteric concepts like root races combined with eugenics and German folklore significantly contributed to anti-Semitic ideals. Jews were related to vampires and parasites based on folklore, horrible monsters that needed to be destroyed. Even Nosferatu was said to be a story that portrays vampiric attacks on Aryans. Likewise, the world ice theory promoted the thought that Aryans are equipped to face the winter better due to perceived racial superiority, leading them to problems when they invaded Russia. And like I said, co-worker disputes to this very day.
That makes me feel so fucking good that part of the reason they lost in Russia is that they thought they just fucking waltz on in to the St. Petersburg winter. Fuck those motherfuckers.
We don't need these jackets. We don't need them. We leave these jackets at home.
I wonder how it fucking felt when they started feeling warm again and seeing colors in the snow.
Bro, they called us vampires. Fuck them. I'll show you vampire. I'll bite your fucking head off.
You've been taught for your entire fucking career. I was gonna try and make a joke. I didn't have one. That you could survive the cold only to find out that you can't fucking take it.
You know what's funny about that? That's probably true about like 1 out of every 8 of them. There was like one of those dudes was just wearing nothing. He's like, why are you guys so cold?
My horoscope said I was high of me.
And then Russia just came and fucked them up all the way to Berlin.
Oh, they were mad.
Fucked them up with every civilian they had all the way to Berlin.
Yeah.
Like the Germans still killed a lot of Russians, but they just couldn't handle the tracksuit invasion.
Oh God.
Slav nation, yo.
Hey, did you know fucking like Puma and Adidas are fucking not like German brands that were affiliated with the Nazis, but primarily because the German government took over all private industry.
Did you know
So
that
is Fanta.
BMW?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mercedes.
yeah,
Volkswagen.
they made plane engines like
And-
Volkswagen did.
Yeah,
too.
Volkswagen.
Mitsubishi. I'm pretty sure Mitsubishi bombed Pearl Harbor.
Man, I like Mitsubishi though.
They got a dope
can
symbol.
Can you even get them anymore?
Yeah.
Hey, I'll still buy a fucking Volkswagen. No, they kind of suck these days, but
Volkswagen.
Volkswagen.
I've always wanted that
Volkswagen.
stupid hippie van, but it
Yeah.
sucks. Like it can't go up hills, but I still want it.
I'll get a rabbit. They have a car called a Rabbit.
Dude, I
and
want the
they're really
rabbit.
dope.
Ooh, I like
Those
the
are
rabbit.
really cool.
They look like little
Baja.
cardboard box cars from Katamari.
They're actually
Demise.
kind of fancy.
And you drive them in Hawaii, you know?
They're teeny.
I'm not familiar whatsoever.
Oh, dude, they're a really
and then
nice
the
looking
golf. There's a golf.
I've
Is
been
it-
watching
is
Bugs
it who?
Bunny.
He's from Hawaii.
I think. I mean, he's sort of a. I could see why they'd paint him on the side of a
No,
plane. Because if
you
you have
take a
Bugs
left-
Bunny on your side, you're invincible.
No, you take a left at Albuquerque. He lives like in the
Wow.
Midwest. He lives in the Southeast or the Southwest. Sorry, I'm bad at directions.
He's
Yeah,
a
but he
trickster.
says it like from the Northeast.
No, but he's a gray
Yeah,
rabbit.
he-
Like he lives here in America in the mainland.
And he's a
Did you know
trickster.
that they won't let you take
Yeah.
animals or plants in or out of Hawaii? They have like strict rules on the animals because they become invasive.
Which is good, but it also sucks.
So Bugs Bunny has to stay in Albuquerque unless he visits Atlantis first, and then he can get to Hawaii.
In the beginning of the show, when the Americans find this cave, the thing that they find is the Ahnenerbe which is translates to racial heritage. And this was essentially the Grail quest that Himmler put together with his buddy Wirth to look for the lost Aryan civilization. Himmler considered Christianity to be a weak philosophy of Jewish origin and wished to replace it with a purely Aryan religion instead. Likewise, this became the central goal of the Ahnenerbe. In the September of 36, Wirth took a team to a remote region of Sweden to investigate rock carvings made of over 100 plasticasts where Himmler eagerly awaited. According to Wirth, they constituted an esoteric recording of the lost people of Atlantis. This is what Himmler had been waiting for. He began employing his religious experimentation meant for the German people on a smaller batch scale to his own SS. He wanted them to be the model for everyone, not just the police force. Himmler established SS weddings and naming ceremonies to replace christenings. He even instigated maypole and other pagan-esque rituals for the solstices for the SS. This is somewhat well known that Christians were not allowed in the SS, and this was seen as part of the Aryan aristocracy. The spiritual headquarters for this new movement would later become the inspiration for the seminal first-person shooter, Castle Wolfenstein! Woo!
Yeah!
That legit was the first-person shooter Luke ever played, ever.
I had that shit on a Super Nintendo. I got it when I was 14 in 2013.
Dude, shooting Nazis is so gratifying.
My neighbor!
It's still good. It's like if you watch the videos of it, like the guns, they just like blap. You know what I mean? And they just like the death animations are great. It would be stimulating if you'd never seen graphics. It was. I remember I was a little kid, and it wasn't called Castle Wolfenstein. It was Spear of Destiny is what it was called. The one I played anyway. But we'll get to that. The actual castle's name?
Avita Then he turns into a pile of blood goop.
I love it.
Blood soup.
Kerbapple.
Nostalgia.
So it was called Wewelsburg. Wewelsburg. It was a big-ass medieval castle, big-ass ceremonial halls, and ancient-ass artifacts on the walls that served as the cult center for the SS. Located in the village of Wewelsburg, which is a district town in Büren, Westphalia, in the northeast of the North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany. I hope someone knows what that is. The castle...
Gesundheit.
Right. The castle has a triangular layout with 3 round towers connected by massive walls. Now, this place was utterly decked out by Himmler to be his personal SS Nazi cathedral. After the war, Himmler planned to turn the castle and the area surrounding it into a Nazi neo-pagan Vatican and serve as the center of the world. 18 turrets were planned in a giant circular installation featuring high walls and ornate gardens.
Bro, it's the original Chaz.
I don't know what that is, but this was the plans were enormous.
Center Hill Autonomous Zone.
Yeah. Fucking all right. So during the fucking the protests in
last summer.
Yeah, I forget if it was in Seattle or Portland. Either way, it was
like in either one. Like I think it was in Seattle or something.
Yeah, either way, they found like a city block and they had a bunch of like protesters occupy it for like 2 weeks.
And they ran a police precinct. They ran all the police out of a police precinct and took it over. And then they like started like trying to grow gardens for food in a park. And like a local.
None of these people know how to fucking survive.
A local thug, he like drove in with his SUV filled with like probably illegal guns and started passing them out to his posse. And they started like taking payments from local businesses to keep them safe, quote unquote. It was so messed up, dude.
Oh, that's fucking dope.
Dude,
I was there.
I'm pretty sure Leibach took over an embassy somewhere and started printing out their own passports for their own citizens, for the people that were attending their show. I don't have the deets on this, but I will get back to you.
Oh my God.
There you go,
so
hard,
nuts.
dude. They're funny. Now, this place was decked out. It was there to perform ceremonies specifically. So they had weddings, baptisms, once again with pagan overtones. They shunned the Christian faith, and it was overseen by the high priest, Karl Maria Willigut, who was a schizophrenic and believed himself to be descended directly from ancient Celtic kings. He had long been Himmler's guru, and so became the high-ranking Nazi official and state religious figure. Some people even called him the secret king of Germany or something like that.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Are they like basically black druids? Them?
It really is some like hipster shit. Like they wanted to be like the Black Arthurian Knights. Yeah, they were.
Yeah. Okay.
It is basically like we'll get there. So Torchlit ceremonies to the solstice replaced Christmas. It was here that Himmler could escape into his fantasies of a lost German culture of medieval knights, and he accumulated cultural artifacts to adorn the whole castle to go even deeper into his fantasies. In the Hofburg Museum of Vienna, plundered by the Nazis, it was said to hold the fabled Spear of Destiny, so whether or not you believe that's true, they believed it to be held by the Roman centurion Longinus when it pierced the side of Christ. And it was rumored that anyone who possessed the spear would also possess the fate of the world. Hitler was into that and was stoked to possess the spear. This ended up at Wewelsburg. The rooms were named after ancient heroes like King Arthur, but the Hall of Supreme Leaders was built into the castle's former crypt. Star Wars is World War II in space. Above the entrance reads in Latin inscription, Domus mea domus orationis Vocabatur, my house shall be called the house of prayer. In this large room, there are 12 pillars, and the center of the floor bears an inlaid mosaic of the Black Sun. The Black Sun has 12 radial sig runes. The room was said to be used for special meetings between Hitler and select few elite SS officers. The SS logo is also 2 sig runes. In the halls mentioned, there were 12 chairs, each with a coat of arms encircling a round oak table. So they really were like Monty Python in the search for the Holy Grail.
Bro, and also
this man so
also the sig runes they look like little lightning bolts. So it's also like Thor or maybe Zeus, more familiar for people.
The symbolism of the sig rune, it's also known, I believe, Sowilo, and
it's a rune.
Yeah, well, it is supposed to represent like a channeling of divine or higher energy into something being set right. It's been a long time since I read up on it, so fuck it. Maybe just throw that out.
The sig rune?
Yeah,
and it's Norwegian and Icelandic, and I believe it's also Anglo-Saxon. Like once they came to England, there was also another one.
It's also known as the Sol Rune, SOL.
And it's like the rays of the sun is what it's supposed to be, correct?
According to the Wikipedia page I landed on, it means victory. Schutzstaffel. That's a great word.
So even like when Crowley made the victory symbol, he was trying to take away what from their symbols.
Yeah.
So this is just like an endless cycle of appropriating. This is why I don't believe in censorship, is like if you want to take away the power or the hate from a word, you appropriate it in a positive way. Very easy.
Or you fucker with it the way that modern groups because fascism is based on an aesthetic, you could fucker with it and they hate that, and you could steal some of the power too. It's just like
desecrate it.
You might get canceled though nowadays, but the smart ones won't because they'll know what you're doing. Like Marilyn Manson, like Marilyn Manson has appropriated fascist imagery, and you can say what you want about his private life, but before Marilyn Manson, you couldn't get a job if you had face tattoos or piercings. After Marilyn Manson, you could. So there.
Yeah, like I see what you're saying. It's a necessary contrast, in my opinion.
I mean, his whole bag is relating, American culture to fascism, and he's got a lot to say.
I'm still pissed they stole swastikas and sun symbols. I'm still
pissed that they stole some of the best runes, like the the Soul Rune and Othala too, which was on their fucking flags.
We got the Bluetooth rune.
The Bluetooth rune is just Rido and Berkana and something else.
Aleister Crowley's like, you didn't think my shit was cool? What? Come on.
Peace sign.
It's like, I got serpents and girded chicks. I got
serpents and girded bitches.
I got girded bitches.
Download the app now.
Tavern wench.
I got headless ones, all that stuff. 93s for days. So now we're going to try and give an explanation of what the Black Sun might mean, because we promised the occultism of the Third Reich, and to be fair, it's a difficult subject to research. In my own personal studies throughout the years, the people that I would trust to have this information in its discrete parts would probably be the Temple of Set, because they seem to have accumulated quite a few authentic Nazi occult artifacts, and it seems like they have like an area of research dedicated to that. And it's also been speculated that Aquino has done some modern art in places like Wewelsburg in maybe full Nazi regalia. I don't know if that's true, but he's a very interesting intellectual. So you can say what you want about him, but I would imagine, based on the rumors that I've heard and some of the information, like there's like in his own recruitment video, he's there playing with like a Nazi knife, and I bet they have the answers. I'm just bet that's where I'm as a gambling man. If you really want the specifics, go try and get into the Temple of Set, and don't tell them I sent you or they won't let you in. Here's what we think the black sun might mean. So Negredo, or blackening, or the Sol Niger, the black sun, is the first stage of the magnum opus in alchemy. Some images depict a green lion swallowing the sun. We've talked about this in our Silent Hill episode and what that might mean. The black sun symbol in Castle Wewelsburg is green. Our research specialist believes this is not coincidental. The green is the alchemical symbol of vitriol, and this imagery of the lion is meant to be a metaphor for creating gold through purifying matter, the sun. Alchemical process of mortifactio and putrefaction signifies the light can come from the darkness. This process is actually akin to Jungian shadow work and is an absolutely valid process of utilizing the art of darkness for spiritual and psychological growth. In a good way.
I have a comment.
Okay.
The green lion devouring the sun, I would argue that's the sun setting at the horizon line of the earth, because green being the earth
Mm.
swallowing the sun.
Sure.
And then the lion, Jung said that's shadow work. So that's like, it's almost like like nighttime is a time for reflection, and, death, putridization, and then the green color, that's almost like sickness. So you go through almost like have you ever heard of a dark night of the soul? So it's almost like
yes.
You go through this like individuation process, which is what Jung would call it. And
yes. I have invented methamphetamines. I know exactly what you are saying, Mari. I know exactly what you are saying. I have entire books about it.
Also frequently referred to as like a black, charred, and useless substance that is left behind after an interaction.
Like Germany after the war.
Totally.
Like Germany after either one.
Both wars.
And then the symbolism of purification, of attaining pure light, gold, and enlightenment. The process of transmutation and purification, if you think about it, like we always talk about the chakra systems, because I'm pretty familiar with the colors, but the heart chakra is green. So the purification process, in my opinion, like going through your dark night of the soul, is a rebirth process in like your alchemical transformation, in which you entrain your heart energy or your lower unconscious body and feeling and emotion with your higher self or your logical, critical thinking ego, if you will. The whole process they're invoking is a process of they're trying to make the perfect being, right? They're trying to transform an entire race of people instead of just themselves.
Yes.
Like, because Jung is talking about individuation as you do it for yourself. It's a DIY, enlightenment. But I feel like the Nazis specifically were trying to force this technology and this occultism on the masses in a way to elevate the entire race.
Yeah.
At one time.
Yes.
With using this technology and the magic at the same time.
So Jung's studies of Sol Niger were influenced by the alchemist Mylius, describing his Negredo process as strewn with suffering and obstacles, but also torture, death, and decomposition and rotting are related to the black sun in Jungian symbolism as part of an eclipse of consciousness. In alchemy, Negredo is considered to be the most difficult and negative operation, though highly important. As Mari said, Himmler likely adopted the black sun as the symbol representative of transmutation of Germany itself, twisting its meaning to justify the vitriol evident in the Reich's actions. In this way, the symbolism of how necessary the darkness is in attaining pure light, gold, and enlightenment justified the heinous crimes of the Reich in Himmler's eyes. In some alchemical depictions of Negredo, a skeleton is used.
It's something else interesting.
Or it's like sweating out the impurities. He was talking about getting rid of other races. Like, it justified it.
Well, that's interesting too, because Negredo and alchemy is referred to as the most difficult step. So alchemy, just briefly, is like not only a philosophy, but it's one that uses allegories of chemistry. Negredo is the most difficult step because whatever product you were looking for out of burning something, you have to sift it out of the ash in like a long and meticulous and time-consuming process.
It's a phoenix too. Like, it's coming out. The ultimate spirit is born, and it's fire, and it moves on to its next.
But the important question is it really their place to put an entire people inside of a crucible and burn them until gold rises to the top for their own benefit? Like, that That is the huge question. And
That's kind of a funny fucking.
But they used these
So
historical
wild.
texts, the research, and even like old pagan rituals to justify doing this.
They were high on meth too.
Well, that too, but they thought they were doing good, and that's the messed up thing about any person could become this evil if you get to the point where you're that fervent about your image of idealism and what you want the world to be, could very well become just as bad as these people were. That's to me the real message.
These people weren't even thinking, though. They were just kind of following along.
Right, but they were interested in information enough to do the research and justify it with all the. They're like, bro, look what it's kind of like. If you're looking for the information, you'll find it. Bro, look what this says about people with blonde hair and blue eyes. We're like the sons of angels and stuff. Oh, we own the world, dude.
My God, not more indigo children.
Like it's basically kind of, but it's like if indigo children were like, oh, we can kill any human we want because we're aliens from another planet and we were sent here to help you and we can kill you whenever we want.
And you keep making low vibrational movies and we just need you to watch The Secret more, okay? Now get against the wall.
We need you to be a vegan and eat the bugs, okay? Like how, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of layers to it. That's really interesting to deconstruct it to that point of, okay, you've gone over the line at this point.
So as we said earlier, the alchemical depictions in Negredo sometimes include a skeleton. And so this could have been the source of inspiration for the design of the silver death's head ring of the SS, which donned a skull framed by oak laurels and seagull runes. The oak is related to Thor, and coincidentally, Thor's symbol is also a swastika. The oak laurels on the rings reference Thor, and the ring itself can be related to the silver ring that Thor himself was said to wear. People could take oaths upon Thor's ring, just as SS officers would have done with theirs. 2 victory runes, a swastika, a Hegel rune, and a so-called binding rune, which was some weird invention of Willigut's, was placed on the ring. Himmler's signature appeared on the inside of the ring. Only a select few were ever given the SS ring. If you got into the SS, which was not easy, you were just not given a ring. You had to be special. Now,
you think it had like magical metal or stone in it?
They wanted it to be. Yeah. So within Wewelsburg Castle, there's a crypt directly below the superior leader's chamber. On the ceiling of this crypt is a swastika, which lays directly beneath the black sun symbol on the floor of the superior leader's chamber. So this was an important room. In this crypt, there are pipes leading to the center of the room, said to be installed for the purpose of fueling an ongoing fire in the center of the room. This also relates directly to Thor as the god of lightning, and hollowing element of fire also became important in his cult. A torch carried around some land hollows it, and at some of Thor's temples there were sacred fire which was never allowed to go out. Often, Castle Wewelsburg has been referred to as Himmler's Camelot, and he even had a special room set up for the Holy Grail, a person that he entrusted personally to Otto Rahn. And if you'd like to hear more about Otto Rahn's Grail quest and all the things that led to his demise, please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where you can get all the extended episodes and some stickers and access to our Discord server for just $5. If you listen to the extended show, you will literally find out the synchronistic meaning of eat carrots and shoot lasers.
Come on over to the Patreon. Bye now.